episode 3. This was a very special, nearly double-length episode. It didn't waste a single minute, that's for sure, and it was an in-depth exploration of Internet of Things, or IoT, across industry. Aside from IoT, Henry also tackled 5G technology and, of course, IoT, but specifically in manufacturing and healthcare, and how all of this relates to life. Well, at that time, in late 2019, when it was made, that episode, but now it all still rings true, truer than ever, in fact. So the first question we have for you, Henry, you've said the leap between 4G and 5G is significant, but how significant could it really be? I don't remember hearing this kind of thing when 3G changed to 4G.
Okay, the continual evolution of wireless communication has been going on now for years. The biggest two changes that took place in going from 4G to 5G has to do with the response time of getting information from point A to point B. And the reason this is important, or is more important, is that particularly for self-driving vehicles, which looks like we're evolving in that direction, is that if you're going to try to coordinate vehicle traffic so that you're aware of what someone coming up from a side street is doing, or someone that you can't see necessarily, or your car doesn't see, but it's being communicated by 5G back to a central computer that tries to monitor all things in that area, the rate at which that response then provides activity back to the car is extremely important. If it takes seconds of time for a decision to be a communication from one car to go back to a central point where it then is computed to see, yep, that's going to interfere with someone else and communicate that back, has to be on the order of milliseconds, because otherwise the accident's already taken place. The other is that the data rate is much faster with 5G, which is again minimizes the time it takes to get for a signal from point A to B and then back to point C. So those are the two major things that have taken place. But to do this, they've had to change the frequencies and structure of what the signaling is, which is a major change from anything we've had before.
Okay, very good. Now, next question. I am very interested in 3D printing. I hope you decide to cover it more in a future episode. If a regular printer gets loaded with paper and ink, what does a 3D printer get loaded with to accomplish its various tasks?
Well, that certainly is an interesting topic. I've been following 3D printing now for years. I still have not made my own personal investment into 3D printing. I have a lot of printers, and they take ink and paper, and they do their job. 3D printing actually prints material onto a surface, and that material is really the surface. The surface now is, if you want to call it paper, but it's not used up, is the area that the material gets deposited on, or it could even be a liquid in a container, and that container, the liquid is fused by use of lasers to focus on a point where it heats up and solidifies the liquid in those areas. But in any case, the material that goes into the dispensers, if you will, where instead of ink, now it's material that's getting dispensed, can be something as rigid as aluminum or metal. It could be plastic. In the case of if they're going to make a a plastic device. They're now experimenting and have demonstrated that they can deposit a material which acts like a vein or an artery to be used in surgeries. The material is continuing to evolve and improve to the point where it used to be it was just plastics to start with, then evolved to metals, and now is evolving into composite materials, which means some combination of materials going into the dispenser.
All right, the next question, is it possible to 3D print something as complex as a functioning brain or nerves?
Well, that's a very controversial subject, both ethically and practically, because cells are living items as the brain is. You could certainly make a brain structure that looked like a brain, but it wouldn't function because it doesn't have the fundamental biology that's there, and no one has yet been able to just develop or show how you create a living entity which has many composite parts that functions. And then you say, well, is that different than cloning? Well, if we could, probably not, but it's, again, something ethically. When I say that they're able to construct veins and arteries, which are like cartilageous structure and flexible like plastic, they can do that, but they can't yet do a cell. They can create more cells by having those cells reproduce, but we don't know how to do that yet either.
The next question, could people essentially live forever through medical tech someday? For example, swapping out malfunctioning organs and so forth.
Well, there's certainly replacing organs with technology, and have even come to the point where they can change out a heart. But in terms of changing the genetics of how long people live, we don't understand yet what are the elements within our complex genes that cause that to happen. And maybe in the future, if we understand more what makes up our biological structure, we may be able to change our longevity other than just through exercise, judicious eating, and a good life are something that right now we have control over, but over controlling the genetic structure on aging, we're still yet a lot to learn.
Now, more robotics in factories seems like it'll mean more injuries and even deaths. But maybe it's the opposite. What has been shown so far?
Well, what's been shown so far is that one of the things that causes the most accidents, and in some cases death, is the repetition of doing the same task hour after hour. People aren't very good at that. It's easy to, like driving, it's easy to be distracted. Mm-hmm. So they've actually shown that robotics, or the term which is called cobots, where a human and a robot work together to solve a task, have reduced accidents, in fact, very significantly. And the area that they're looking for robots to really help is the area that are repetitive. Part of it's whether it's in the assembly of a machine or the operation of drilling and making parts, or whether it's in moving parts in large areas like Amazon's warehouse. Mm-hmm. That the robotics can really help reduce accidents because you're focusing on the tasks that were programmed in, and they're using multi-sensors to sense what's going on around them. So they actually can avoid things running into people or things running into other things. So I think it's a definite aid.
Okay, next question has to do with supercomputers. I don't really understand what supercomputers are. Episode 3 shows a room full of large, glowing blue units. Is that one supercomputer or several? Can you explain? I feel like it's something I should understand completely.
Well, supercomputers probably is a misnomer. Originally, when we had a small desk-sized computer, we just called it a computer. What they found is that they could build that circuitry into bigger and bigger boxes. But as they went to bigger and bigger boxes, they found out that the reliability of those processes would be degraded if it was all dependent on a single functionally glowing machine.
Sure.
So what they've done is to interconnect many computers, whether it's in a box or in an installation that eats up acres of ground floor to become a supercomputer. So you may say, well, it's a supercomputer, really many computers all talking together.
Yeah.
And that's probably true. So it's a misnomer, but the fact that they show one in many glowing units is a way of tying together different machines thanks to the interconnection of either fiber optics to talk one machine to another to minimize time and allow faster speed, or whether it's the circuitry inside that it becomes a supercomputer. It's really undefined.
Okay.
In terms of when does it make a change from, even your desktop computer now is really, in terms of what used to be, is a supercomputer.
Episode 3 saw Henry Halliday tackling even heavier issues, both literally, manufacturing, and figuratively, medical. This installment aimed to make everything twice the size, which was no small feat considering the program still felt lean and briskly paced even at 27 minutes. This is testament, of course, to the power of the material and the quality of vision and production put forth by Henry and his team. "You never know who's listening," said Dr. Halliday at the time, "so each episode must be approached as though there are first-timers in the audience. I give it my all with every installment." Episode 3 also holds the unique distinction of being the last episode of Learn, Learn, Learn before the COVID pandemic hit and practically turned the world upside down. All of Henry's lessons were put to the test overnight as technology adapted and reacted to meet the challenges that began in March 2020. Now, 2 years later since episode 3 came out, we are in a very different place. Watch any season 2 episode of Learn, 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 and you'll know exactly what we mean. Looking back on Henry's words from 2019 now carries extra weight and extra irony, as we've seen time and recent events prove him right, again and again. Although at the time, nobody, not even Henry himself, could have guessed just how right he would be. Henry said at the time, "Manufacturing technology has been evolving for many years, but lately it seems that manufacturing has to evolve as it tries to compete and gain new customers. Most manufacturers are employing various technological advancements to make work easier, safer, and more productive. IoT, Internet of Things, and AI, artificial intelligence, are becoming more important in the prediction of potential breakdown in tools, especially robotics.